Welcome to LinguaWire English B1. Today, we have two stories, one about NATO and a report on Spain, and the other about Donald Trump cancelling a trip to Pakistan for talks about the Iran war. Follow us to practice your English every day with the latest episode. For transcripts and quizzes, visit LinguaWire.com. I'm here with Sarah, LinguaWire's World Affairs reporter. Sarah, what is happening with NATO and Spain?
Hello, Daniel. NATO says there is no rule to remove or suspend a member country. This comes after a report said the US might try to suspend Spain because Spain did not support the US in the Iran war.
So NATO officially says it cannot suspend Spain?
Yes, NATO's founding treaty does not allow suspension or removal of members. A NATO official told the BBC this clearly. Spain's leader also said the report is not true.
Why did the US want to punish Spain?
The US is unhappy because some NATO allies did not support the US after it and Israel attacked Iran on 28 February. The US thinks these countries did not help enough in the conflict.
That sounds serious. What did the Pentagon say about this?
Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson said the US did a lot for NATO allies, but they were not there for the US. She said the Defense Department will give the President options to make sure allies do their part.
What kind of options?
The report said one idea was to review the US position on the UK's claim to the Falklands Islands, which Argentina also claims. This shows the US might use other political ways to pressure allies.
Interesting. And yet NATO says no suspension is possible.
Exactly. NATO's treaty does not allow it. The US can try political pressure, but NATO as a group cannot remove Spain or any member.
What could happen next in this situation?
It depends on how the US and its allies talk in the coming weeks. If the US pushes too hard, it might cause more problems inside NATO. But NATO wants to stay united.
One thing people often miss here is the importance of NATO's unity for world security. If members fight, it weakens the whole alliance.
Yes, that is very true. NATO's strength comes from all members working together.
Now I'm joined by Adam, LinguaWire's international politics reporter. Adam, what happened with Donald Trump and the US trip to Pakistan?
Hi, Daniel. Donald Trump cancelled a planned trip by US envoys to Pakistan for talks about the Iran war. The trip was cancelled on Saturday, just after Iran's delegation left Islamabad.
Why did Trump cancel the trip?
Trump said the envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, would waste too much time. He added that if Iran wanted a talk, they'd just have to call.
So Trump wants Iran to make the first move?
Yes, that's right. Trump is waiting for Iran to show real interest in talks. Earlier, Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, said he shared Iran's position with Pakistan, but was not sure if the US was serious about talks.
What is the current situation between the US and Iran?
The US and Iran have been in a standstill since the US and Israel attacked Iran in February. Iran then limited ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, a very important shipping route for oil.
I see. Why is the Strait of Hormuz important?
About 1/5 of the world's oil passes through this strait, so controlling it affects world oil supply and prices. The US has increased its navy there to block Iranian oil exports.
That sounds tense. What did Trump say about the ceasefire?
Trump said the ceasefire would continue on Saturday, even though hopes for new talks are low. He also said there is a lot of fighting and confusion inside Iran's leadership.
That is surprising. What might happen next?
Trump said the war might not start again soon, but the situation is unclear. If Iran's leaders cannot agree, it could change the conflict's direction.
One interesting detail is that Iran said there were no plans for a direct meeting with the US delegation, even before the trip was cancelled.
Yes, that shows how hard the talks are and why the trip was cancelled quickly.
Let's look back at some useful words from our first story about NATO and Spain. The theme is political alliances. First word, allies. Allies means friends or partners, especially countries that support each other. In the story, NATO countries are called allies because they work together for defense. For example, France and Germany are allies in NATO. Second word, suspend. Suspend means to stop something for a time or to pause it. The story talked about the US wanting to suspend Spain's NATO membership, but NATO said this is not possible. For example, the school will suspend classes tomorrow because of the storm. Third word, treaty. A treaty is a formal agreement between countries. NATO's treaty is the document that creates the alliance and sets its rules. The story said the treaty does not allow suspension of members. For example, the countries signed a treaty to protect the environment. Now, for our second part, let's look at an important verb from the episode, cancel. To cancel means to stop something planned from happening. It is a regular verb. Cancel, cancels, cancelled, cancelling. For example, they cancelled the meeting because of rain. And she cancels her appointments when she is sick. This verb was used when Donald Trump cancelled the US trip to Pakistan for talks. That's all for today's language recap.